Hey guys, welcome back to another video. In today's episode, we're going to go ahead and hardwire some LEDs for the bottom of the XB. Now, last video, we already did an interior LED install. This is going to be very, very similar. It's just where we're going to route the wires and all that's going to be a little bit different. So let's get started. All right, so as I promised, I would pick up some more power and some more ground. So we got that here. Here is the switch we're going to be using for the exterior LEDs. The same type of fuse tap, same fuses. This is the power cable that belongs to the LEDs. And I picked up a different brand for the solder and seal connectors, so hopefully these work better than the other one. Here are the LEDs themselves. So you're going to have two short ones and two long ones. Obviously, you know, one's for the front and back and one from the sides. You can see here, they are pretty beefy. And they are already enclosed in this case with some, like a 3M tape style on the back. But we're going to secure them with like a body harness or zip tie of some sort. So in the last video, we went ahead and tapped 7, which is the ECU ignition number 2. I think it is. That one only provides power to the fuse when the ignition is on. So we're gonna go with something similar like that. I would tap the one above it, but I think the fuse tap being on number 7 already, I don't think we could even fit it on 6. If we can, I will. If not, I'll go with number 23, which is the cigarette. And in the XB at least, it doesn't run power to the cigarette unless the ignition is on as well. Okay, so as I said in the previous video, with this particular switch, you're going to want to go ahead and merge the yellow and the red, because that's going to be our constant for power. And then we have your ground as a black, and then the blue is going to be to the accessory itself. The blue connects to the power of this. So let's go ahead and get at least these two connected. Okay, so after building some of my wires up, that's what we got right here. You get your fuse with the tap to the actual plug-in. So now we got to run the blue again to the power for the LEDs and then ground this ground. Alright, once you get everything out here, you have really 3 major options. You can hit this plug here, which already has wires going through it, this drain plug, or this drain plug. So this one's actually hard to get through because it's hard to see underneath, so probably going to run this one right here. Okay, so after you get everything kind of measured out, you should have some slack in the end. That way you can route your cable how you'd like. You're going to go underneath the black tray right there to go underneath the seats. You're going to go ahead and remove the weather stripping here and take off the 2 little panel, or the panel that's here. And you're going to route underneath and behind all this stuff. And then that way, you can run the cable along the existing wiring harness. You can kind of light it in there. Now I'm going to cover mine with a protective layer, but just got to get the right length at least figured out for this stuff. Once you get that far, go up front, take off the 2 panels, one here and one right here. Run your cable the rest of the length. Make sure you have enough length to hit your fuse box. And it's time to start wrapping everything up now and getting the grounds put in. Now, thankfully, there's a couple spots back here, right there for the seats. There's a couple bolts, so I'll probably ground off there or underneath the car where the wiring actually is. Okay, so this is what we did. I took a fuse tap itself. Now, I believe this is called a low profile or slim fuse. It's hard to see, but you see the prongs are pretty much the same size as the actual fuse itself instead of sticking past. So you want to take your fuse tap, take the sleeve and just pull it to the end. I just take this guy, snip it off, because this little butt connector or whatever it is I'm not going to use. So I just take this, put this on here, and I'm going to go ahead and strip it. Oopsie. There we go. So your fuse tap. Now, you're going to take your fuse for your LEDs, and you're going to slap that in the top slot. Like so. The bottom fuse is whatever fuse that you're tapping, that fuse goes there, and then this goes where that fuse was. So it will kind of slit in the spot here, and then you throw that fuse there. Okay, so that's step one. Okay, so after you have the wire tap or fuse tap stripped and you have heat shrink on it, go ahead and take, let's say this is the blue wire for the switch, and you want to make sure you have enough of this wrap to slide over, and you're going to have access on here, and you're going to have to scoot it down and hold it. So that way, when you can combine these two, let me go ahead and do that. Combine the wire and you slide on your heat shrink tube and you heat shrink it. You could pull this guy over the entire wire. It would look like this when it's done, of course. So the next step is going to be finding out where you're going to access your wiring and how you're going to route this through wherever you're going to route it. So for me, I was thinking about that spot, but that was kind of hard to get to once I put wires through it. This one was good, but I saw this one. So what I've done here is I put all the wires through here, the LEDs and all that jazz, and here comes the power cable. Now, you're seeing a lot of wires right now, I apologize. But basically, each one of these 4 wires is going to an individual LED strip. So, there's that. And then you have the box here, which has the Bluetooth function in it. And then you have the power cable here. Well, the power in the ground. And that will run up here. You're going to run your ground to a bolt. And then you're going to run the power through the rest of the car. I ran it underneath of all that jazz, and then it comes right here. Let's see if I can show you this. And it tucks underneath all this different seatbelt stuff. Okay, so this is what I did. Right where this spare tire goes is that little cap right here, and that's what screws the spare tire down. Took the spare tire out, and then I put the wires there, or the wire wheel, if you will, and I just bolted it down. So now I can pull on it, and it just spins. So, okay, so I just basically ran that cable all the way up front, and I just, make sure I have enough slack. This is going to be not perfect. Then I know this is going to have to run lower, so I would pull this down more, and I would pull this, make sure I have enough slack. Once it looks good from there, I go ahead and snip that end. Okay, so once you have the cable threaded through underneath all the plastics and all the way through this jazz, you're going to go ahead and route it up roughly about here. You could use a zip tie or something to hold it so you don't lose your slack. But basically, the switch itself, you go ahead and connect the blue wire to the cable you threaded all the way through the car. The black is going to go to a ground point, anywhere that's metal with metal. And the red and yellow will go to the fuse and tap into the fuse box. So let me show you what that looks like next. Here are the 2 fuse taps. The one on the right is for the internal LEDs, and the one on the left is for the external LEDs. They just replace the existing fuse, and you add the fuse to the fuse tap itself to gain power. Once everything is wired up, you should have this light glowing. And we tilt it this way, and that when you press it. Now it's time to put everything back together, and I'll kind of explain my process on everything. So for me, it's going to be putting the trunk panel in first. And the next step is to snap on this panel. If you're curious, it literally just snaps like on. There we go. So for these lower panels, I took out the side sill, then that one. So I'm going to put that one on first, then this one. Side note, does anyone know what this is for? On the back of it, there's two little tabs and you could pop each side off. So, you could put a flare there or something, like strap in or something. It'd be kind of cool. And literally just pops right in. And that little bar stuff is right here. So once you got that in, time to take this guy. Boom. Just like that. That's done. Now it's time for the underdash. Okay. So once that's put in place, it will look like that. And all this is tucked away nice and neat. It's time to throw on the centerpiece. So this goes, I have this piece here. I always forget which way it goes. I think it goes this way, yeah. Alright, now it's time to put on the radio covers, or the vent covers. There we go. And it's looking good. There we go. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Again, I really do appreciate all the support you guys give. And I hope you guys enjoyed the detail when it came to this install. You guys got to see everything from the fuse to the grounds in the back of the car. And the only thing I got to show you guys next is the lights. So next week's video, we'll go ahead and go over how the Bluetooth app works on the phone and how to get it, how to sync it, if you will, with the interior lights and the exterior, so they can sync and work together. So appreciate you guys again. Here is a little sneak peek of the lights, though. So you go out here, boom, boom. So the lights themselves are on pulsing mode. That is one of the few features. I'll go ahead and go over that next week's video. But again, thanks guys, and have yourself a great night.